I'm Glyn Carter. I'm a filmmaker. I've made about 17 creative films and a dozen or so charitable and corporate films. And in my life as a filmmaker, I've taken an interest in the history of short films, which is what I do. So I'm going to have to move this, so pardon the noises because I can't actually see the screen. Right, okay, this should work. And oh yeah, I just wanted to say, as a little plug, the film I made last autumn is showing as part of the Hastings Film Fringe, I think here in July, but they've got another venue down the road, but I don't know which venue I'm going to be at. So if you're interested in kind of seeing kind of what I can do, check out the Hastings Film Fringe. And if you're interested in kind of short film and having a good time, check it out too. Yeah, I was looking at the history of short film, and what's especially interesting is the way it's been led by technology. And I've looked past, I would also look forward to what it could mean in coming years. So, oh yeah, that's the poster for that film I was talking. Oh, we're not showing this on the screen here.
Is it not? It was just a blank screen, a blank time.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm one behind. Right, that's the film. It's about an old man and a schoolgirl who find an object. He thinks it's gold. She thinks it's a halo, and they argue. And it's funny. I hope. Short films. Filmmaking started with short films. The Lumiere brothers, their train sent audiences scurrying for safety in 1896. No, sorry, that should be a GIF. That should actually be moving.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's just not moving on this screen. Okay, right. That's thrown me. Georges Méliès and others turned film into an art form. This is the 1902 trip to the moon, and if you haven't seen Scorsese's film Hugo, that's kind of covers that period, really interesting as a film and also on history. Méliès and others started to invent some of the language of film that we're used to, the cut and the way you can use it to make time pass, the close-up for the emotional impact, the special effect. So the first decade of the 20th century saw the first animations. Not quite sure what's going on here, but I do know it's an animation. Documentaries and travelogues were very popular because only the filthy rich could actually afford to travel, so people would watch films about foreign places. This is Moscow in Winter, 1908. There was a flowering of comedies because the short form worked so well for comedy, which is a bit of a cheat because Steamboat Bill is not actually a short film, but it's such a great clip I couldn't resist it. Technology progressed because at first short films were shown in theatres and fun fairs and circuses and things like that. But as the technology progressed to allow making mass prints of the same film, it became feasible to build cinemas. And money started to flow into it as audiences came. European emigres moved to New York, started the movie industry there, and then they shipped out to California for two main reasons. One, a lot of sunshine. Two, weaker trade unions. Technology gave us the talkies. This is the jazz singer in 1927, but actually what's not known, the first film to use the photophone system for synchronizing sound and the action was a German film, The Arsonist, in 1922. If you just look up here, oops, that was supposed to be, stop the whole thing, Tim. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. What do I do to go back? Hey! Okay, no, I wanted this. If you see Vitaphone, that's the patent name of the system, but they're all much the same. They had the sound recorded as in a form that light could create an analogue of the sound. You don't need to know that. But the key change wasn't the talkies. As far as short film's concerned, the key change was the development of the feature film. And it won't surprise you to know that the first feature film was a Western. Well, sort of a Western. It was actually the story of the Kelly Gang. It was made in Australia. This was in 1906. And from that point, cinema could emulate theatre and provide a longer narrative drama. And from that point, features came to rule and short films became the poor relation. And a century later, that's still the case. You don't see B movies at the cinema, the kids' Saturday clubs, they don't exist. Occasionally you get short films making an appearance on BBC and Channel 4, Last year, the Oscar-winning film The Silent Child was shown on BBC, and it's a great film, but would it have been featured on primetime TV if it hadn't been a British Oscar winner? There's the proof. So if TV won't normally even show films of that class, what chance do the rest of us have? But we still make our shorts and we submit the finished product to festivals because festival selection is the key mark of quality. Festivals come in a sort of pecking order. You've got the most prestige festivals, and that sort of unlocks BFI funding and possibly private investments, things like Sundance. The biggest one in London, in England, is probably Raindance. There's a London Film Festival. Raindance, I happen to know, they get 6,000 submissions each year and they choose 100 shorts to screen. That's a 2% chance of being selected, so it's very competitive. The next tier, you've got things like Fright Fest, specialist genre festivals, and the better established festivals around the world. You might have a 1 in 10 shot of getting into those, but it's still very competitive. And then below that, you've got the online festivals, you've got new festivals, and you've got smaller local festivals like the Hastings Film Fringe, which are easier to get into, but they don't have the status. And mostly, when you go to these small festivals, you get a very small audience, which is mainly other filmmakers. And it's great for talking to other filmmakers, but the Oscars and the red carpet scene, it isn't. Take it from me. I do know somebody picked up an audience award for their film because they went along with 5 mates, and on that basis they outvoted the entire rest of the audience. And then you do your festival run, and then what? Minuscule handful of films get picked up by online paid platforms like Shorts TV. Some might make a few pounds on pay-per-view like iTunes. This is of course assuming you can't afford to have a big star involved. That obviously helps. And then the free platforms might get a few thousand views, but you have to be huge on YouTube to actually make any money from the advertising. So most of the short films that have ever been made just sit somewhere on the web, normally on a site called Vimeo. Anybody heard of Vimeo? Hands up those who've heard of Vimeo. It's like Spotify for films. But you've all heard of Spotify, but not a majority have heard of Vimeo. And there are millions of films there, and your film gets lost, like mine. Get a few hundred hits. I'm not bitter. So you might ask why we bother to make short films at all. Well, partly because we are filmmakers. That's what we've got to do, just like an artist has got to draw and a sculptor's got to sculpt. We want to make films. I made films because I wrote films and then realised that nobody was going to make my screenplays into a film, so I'd have to learn the art of doing it for myself. And filmmaking is, a great art form. It has such fantastic potential because on the one hand it's very realistic, and on the other hand it can be incredibly dreamlike. You bring those together, you get a very powerful art form. And of course we've got all the techniques of filmmaking, close-ups and pans and so on to kind of increase the dramatic effect, and we bring in the music and we bring in the sound effects. And now we can bring in special effects and create something absolutely marvellous. And we make short films because career-wise, as producers or directors or actors or crew, we need those credits for a short film as a calling card in order to get work in the holy grail of TV and features and commissions. And also, if we've got an idea to make a feature, to help sell that to a potential investor, we might make a short as a proof of concept. That's where we want to end up. But actually, the situation is that with more film schools rolling out more filmmakers across the globe, more and more short films are being made, and few make enough money to even justify the cost of promoting them. And as filmmakers, if we've got a film, rather than pay to promote the film, we'd rather put any money we do have into making another film. And because nobody bothers to promote their films to any great extent, there's no what I call a cultural infrastructure around films. Like, if you want to go and see a feature film or you want to read a book, there are endless number of websites and TV programs and radio programs and magazines where you can read reviews and you can work out, what's coming up, the sort of thing you're going to like. Short films, there is nothing like that, or almost nothing like that. So there's a massive oversupply of films into a market with a low demand, and you've got a vicious circuit of low demand means nobody tries to promote, nobody tries to promote means nobody is kind of doing that cultural work to build up the audience. So it's a bit depressing, really, but guess what? I think short films are about to enter the new golden age. The golden age of short films is coming, it's not what's been. Hey. How can I say this? Well, it's back to technology. Because three factors have come together. First, there's cheap production, then there's mass distribution, and thirdly, there's mobile viewing. So I'm going to take these one by one. Firstly, digital technology means that filmmakers can achieve 4K quality on equipment costing a few £100s. Steven Soderbergh's last film, Unsafe, was shot on an iPhone. Broadcast quality cameras can be hired at pretty affordable rates. It used to be an industry for millionaires. Now it's kind of for retired old blokes like me. Lights can be got for a few £100s, mostly Chinese. And same with high quality recording gear. This is a gimbal stabilizer, which is a kind of poor person's Steadicam. But that enables you to get those kind of jazzy camera movements that Spielberg and Greengrass have made almost necessary. But that kind of gear costs less than £1,000. A proper Steadicam, like you see on sports programs or in Hollywood, it costs kind of up to anything above £10,000. Amazing special effects can be done at home. CGI is now a cottage industry as well as being a multi-million-pound thing like George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic. People can do stuff in their own bedrooms. And that's a revolution compared to even a decade ago. So expense is no longer a major constraint on making films. Secondly, distribution. In the 21st century, the internet makes cinemas unnecessary. I'm not saying it will kill cinemas. Home DVD didn't, and neither will Netflix and Amazon. But what's crucial for us as short filmmakers is that we can now post our work online. We're free from the tyranny of cinema distribution. We're still grappling with the implications of this, but it is another revolution. And the channels that get the right combination of quality and price are going to become the HBO of short films. The one obstacle is that there is an expectation that anything that we see online is mostly going to be free. People are more beginning to pay for quality content, but quite slowly. And when you've got that expectation that you can watch anything on YouTube for free, the mass market has got a resistance to paying for it. But there are innovative ideas coming forward, such as actually paying people to watch content by giving them cryptocurrency. And things will happen over the next 10 years. And as it shakes out, that might mean a meaningful income stream for not all short filmmakers, but at least some have something to aspire to. So that covers production and distribution. What about the viewing experience? And that's the third element in my perfect storm. Because the real revolution isn't the smartphone as a camera, it's the smartphone as cinema and the tablet. And literally millions have smartphones and tablets. We can access the web anytime, we can stream, we can download. And for teenagers, the smartphone is the primary means of accessing film and TV. They fit in with our fast-moving lifestyles. We can watch stuff in cafes, on coffee breaks, on bus rides and train rides, and in bed. And we share the stuff we find, and social media memes diffuse across the world. I've seen the future. We've been like kids with our new toy, but we're not kids, most of us. And as we mature into our smartphone habits, we do get tired of skateboarding kittens. Yeah, this is charming, isn't it? But actually, you can watch that again and again, but you know what I mean, you do get tired of that genre, don't you? And we begin to look for something more substantial. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. What happens next will blow your mind. You always follow those, and it's like, oh, God, is that? It doesn't blow your mind. So, we're fed up with jelly babies. We want something more substantial, like a muesli bar. And that's where short film comes in, because although we still want bite-sized chunks in 5, 10, 15-minute slots that fits in with our short attention spans, our short downtime windows, the short film offers something that nothing else can. Stories, excitement, drama, emotion, and humour. Those are all stills from some of my shorts, by the way. I said earlier that this market is saturated and there's no audience for short film. That is the conventional wisdom, but look at this. A film called The Black Hole. Google it, it's on YouTube. It's a 3-minute short. It's had 24 million views, which is 10 times a kind of little indie film like Room, which came out, 10 times the audience of that. If they got a penny for every view, they'd made a cool £250,000. CG Brothers is a science fiction channel on YouTube. They're 2 million views. That was last year, it's probably up to 3 now. Short films on horror channels can get 6-figure audiences, and to be honest, they're not that good. So actually there is a mass audience out there. And it's built through word of mouth and social media, not through conventional publicity campaigns or even star actors. There's just a huge gulf between the audience and most of the world's short film fraternity. Something is missing. And what I think is missing is the cultural infrastructure. Like I said, if you want to go to the movies, there's dozens of magazines and podcasts and TV shows, sites like Rotten Tomatoes, to help you choose. Critics like Roger Ebert and Mark Kermode become famous in their own right. If you're into indie music, you can go to gigs, you can download and stream stuff. Short film has no equivalent of this. Finding a film to your taste is a hit and miss process. Sorting the good from the bad is a depressing waste of time. You have to watch something to find out if it's something that you wanted to watch, let alone if it's any good. From the filmmaker's point of view, it's like trying to sell a house if there was no such thing as estate agents. And from a fan's point of view, it's like trying to buy a house by knocking on doors and asking if it's for sale. There's no dedicated magazine or online blog or things like that aimed at audiences. This is probably the closest, but it majors on feature films, not shorts. There are other websites that do have shorts, but they're actually online festivals like Short of the Week, which means they're selective. They don't review everything, they just review the films that they choose to review. And they tend to serve filmmakers rather than audiences. They give critical feedback, how it could be improved, rather than saying if the film's a good watch. They don't have search tools. They don't have, they don't maybe say in advance how long it is, or search for a thriller or a horror, whatever genre you want to watch. They certainly don't presume anything so helpful as ratings. And they don't live to festivals, and I think festivals do still have a big role because filmmakers use them as gathering points to meet each other. And the role of festivals, if you had a cohort of short film fans like you do indie music fans, film festivals would be the place that they go to meet each other as well. But that's not happening. Things like Rain Dance, yes, but we could have that kind of thing happening in every town. Incidentally, there have been film festivals run in Hastings, and I think one of the and they've been great for those that go to us, those of us that go to them. But I think the fact that that has not been a consistent thing like Coastal Currents in the art community shows how kind of difficult it is to get sustained audiences in. Last year I launched a new website called Short Film Reviews, which aims to do all of the things I mentioned above, like having search tools and star ratings. I call it a right move for short films. And it's about building the audience, and I hope other people will join in and help do that. I'm running a festival next week with the best submissions that have come into the website in London at the Cinema Museum next Saturday week. So I believe, in conclusion, that online viewing in short chunks can become ubiquitous and widespread online, and that opens up opportunities for short filmmakers. A channel will emerge as the HBO of short film, and it'll be taken over by Amazon. Someone will emerge as the Spielberg of short film. The golden age of short film is just around the corner. Someone will say, short is the new rock and roll. But remember, you heard it here first. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glyn.